This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by Community Coffee, strong as our roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Emoji, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
You're with us, and we're so happy that you are. My name's Drew Dougherty. This is Texans Extra Points, and we've got a fun show because Deepi Sidhu, my good pal, is here from HoustonTexans.com, Texans Radio, Texans TV, as well as John McClain. You're also my pal. It's great to see you as well. Longtime NFL columnist. We're duded up. I've got this fancy jacket. He's got on a tie because, Deepi, we're going to miss you. This is Deepi's last show with us.
It is.
So
I love that John McClain's on the last show with me, the general.
There's a big story in the Chronicle about her, not her, about her company.
Yeah, there's like, he's full of life. Well, you can feel free to write a big story about me if you want, though.
But we're going to talk football, I promise, so you guys sit tight. But we got to get you up to date about what we're going to discuss on this show. We've got keys to a Texans victory. What do they have to do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We've got the Texans to watch against the Buccos. Plus, I'm going one-on-one with Jonathan Greenard, fresh off a 2-sack performance last weekend. And as always, John Harris is going to handle a telestrator looking at the offense. And let's begin by talking about this offense and C.J. Stroud. His most impressive trait is what? And the thing he needs to work on most is what? What are those two things for you?
Drew, he doesn't force the ball into coverage. He's been fabulous about that. I think what he needs to work on the most is we're playing deep coverage to take away the shot plays that he wants to do. I think he needs to learn how to hit the slant routes and take advantage of that coverage, not succumb the way he did against Carolina.
All right, pluses and minuses for you in your mind. What does C.J. Stroud have to do?
I mean, I think his ability to get the ball out quickly and avoid sacks. We've seen him take a few sacks here and there, but overall, by and large, we saw what our defense was able to do to Bryce Young, and I think C.J. Stroud does a good job of protecting himself. I think he does need to be more accurate on the deep pass. He missed a few last week against Carolina. I know that he's beating himself up about it. I think it's also his positive, too. He's very accurate normally, but I think he needs to improve on the deep pass heading forward.
All right, we like to do over-unders on this show, and right now, C.J. Stroud's averaging 1.3 touchdown passes per game. It dipped a little bit after 0 against the Carolina Panthers. So 1.5 over/under. What's he got this weekend?
I always have to go over.
You're gonna hit the
right?
over. I like the
And that includes passing and rushing, or is that just passing?
Just throwing the ball.
Okay, we'll still go over. I'm still gonna go over. I like our odds with our guy.
All right, you think he's gonna throw 2 or 1?
I'm going under. Hope he has another one rushing as well as a touchdown pass.
Okay, so that'd be 2, which we'll work with, but you're answering the question correctly. How much of a shift, though, are we going to see with the running back and the running of the ball, no matter who's out there, because there are some questions about that. How much do you think we see run game shifts this weekend?
I think we're going to see shifts. In the last 3 games, the running's actually been improved. It's hard to believe because they still don't do it very well, and people want to blame the backs, but it's all the injuries in the offensive line. Now they got more. Bobby Slowick's doing a running back by committee. I think we might see Mike Boone get a few carries.
Yeah, Mike Boone had a few last week. That number, like you say, might go up. Devin Singletary probably going to get a lot more as well. What do you see in run game wise this week?
I mean, I think Tampa Bay's defense is better against the run, so I don't think that maybe they'll try to rely on the passing game more because their pass defense is 28th in the league, whereas their rushing defense is top 10. So I think we might see those numbers jiggle a little bit, and I think C.J. Stroud does better when he gets the passing game going a little bit.
Which pass catcher, and you notice I didn't say receiver, but which pass catcher is going to shine the most?
They'll double Nico Collins. They'll do everything they can to take away Tank Dell. Dalton Schultz coming off worst game of the season. I'm going to say Schultz down the middle of the field.
Schultz up the middle. How about you?
Yeah, I was going to say Schultz, but if he's taking Schultz, I'm going to go Tank Dell because he came back last week after missing the bye. Before the bye, he missed the game with the concussion. So I think he's getting in a little bit of a rhythm. We saw him do some crazy things in the backfield. I think Tank Dell is ripe for another big game.
Dell looked like a feather on that end around when he evaded a couple tackles. That was some serious stuff. I like to see that. I think that's going to get implemented a little bit more. But biggest need, other than running the football for this offense, is what, John?
C.J. Stroud's rating has gone down every game in the last 5. His completion percentage is up. He's got to get that rating up. They got to get him some touchdown passes when they get down close to the goal line. They need to build his confidence back up. He won't say he's losing confidence, but when it goes down and you get frustrated talking about wanting to throw the ball down the field, he needs to make something happen.
All right, going deep, getting touchdowns. How about you?
I think I want to see more of a mix of the running and the passing, maybe passing a little bit more on first down, just to see him get in a little bit of a rhythm. We didn't really see him get into much of a rhythm at Carolina, but seeing what he was able to do successfully earlier in the season, I want to see a little bit of both. I know we rely heavily on the run game, but I want to see maybe a better mix between the two.
Okie doke. All right, we got to get into the defense after the break, but before we do, we're going to kick it over to John Harris, who has this week's version, X's and O's wise, of the telestrator. Check it out.
You want to see a quarterback throw into an open space, and a small open space at that? Take a look at C.J. Stroud completing this ball to Noah Brown. I chose the end zone view here because it's really impressive to see where this ball ends up to Noah Brown. The key here is Xavier Woods. There's quarters. He is a poaching safety looking for number 3. Well, Noah Brown is number 3. He's going to end up right about here. But look at when CJ throws this ball, right? He's going to release it right there. You don't even see Noah Brown. Where's Noah Brown? Woods sees it. The linebacker's got his eyes on him. Where is CJ throwing the ball? Oh, there's Noah. Look how tight a space this is, and CJ knows if I throw it here, I got a chance. I can't throw it here. I can't throw it here. This ball has to be accurate right there. It is. Big play. Noah Brown down inside the 2-yard line. What a throw. Great catch. Anticipation, timing, accuracy, and great hands all comes together for a big completion.
3rd and 10 at the Panther 24. Stroud shotgun, Boone to his left. CJ gets the snap, fires over the middle, and Noah Brown with the catch, gets up across the 5, brought down at the 3. What a bullet by CJ, and finally Franklin brings Brown down for a 1st and goal at the 3.
I don't know how I can describe this. There is a little bitty window between the linebacker and the safety, and just as Noah Brown clears, the ball is on him. I mean, it is on him in a hurry. That's the most velocity I've ever seen CJ use.
Second down and 10 at the Buck 17. Winston under center with 1 back. Winston drops back, looking left, throws that way, and it's picked off by Roby across the 20, 15, 10, 5, and he walks in for the touchdown. Pick 6 to start the game for the Texans D.
Oh, it seems like so long ago. Bradley Roby with a pick 6 at Tampa Bay. The Texans actually sewed up the division title that day, 2019, in Tampa Bay. Drew Dougherty, Deepi Sidhu, John McClain, it's good to be with you all. Let's talk about the defense, John. The pass rush. Russ, how much of it last week was a matchup thing? How much of it is them maybe getting better in this front 7?
Jonathan Greenard is playing for a new contract. Anytime there's millions and millions on the line, you're going to get the best the guy's got. He was outstanding, best game of his career, one of the best games in the NFL over the weekend. I think Greenard's going to keep doing it, but you know they're going to double team it.
Yeah, and if they do, that should be good things for Will Anderson. What have you seen differently out of this front 7 last week? Was it maybe one of those things where they just mismatched or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you see a little bit of a health of it become an issue. Denzel Perryman, we didn't see him against Atlanta. He had the club. He was talking about playing with the club for 1 game. He's healthy. He's back on the field. He had a fantastic game as well, led the team in tackles. And I think between the front 7, between the defensive line, the linebackers, I think they're gelling. They're healthier. They're playing better together. And I'm with John here. Jonathan Greenard's been playing out of his mind, and I think that's going to continue. He has been so consistent this season.
Yes, he has, getting after the quarterback, doing great things. All right, one thing that each of these teams does well is they win the turnover battle. They're first in Tampa Bay, and then the Texans are in the top 5, just a few slots back. So how many takeaways did the Texans get against a team that's been pretty clean with the football, John?
Can I say more than last week?
Of course you can. I'd love that.
I'm going to say 2 since they had none.
Yeah.
And the reason they've been so good in the plus-minus differential is because the offense has not turned over the ball.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You think they're getting 2 as well?
2 is the plus turnover differential or 2 takeaways total?
2. He's saying 2 takeaways.
2 takeaways. I'll go 1. I'm not going to get greedy. I think as long as they get 1, they protect the ball. If the defense can get a takeaway, that'll be a huge win for them because not turning the ball over is something they did do well, and then they were not able to take the ball away last week. It's something the defense needs to be able to do this week.
He's a movie aficionado. I think you like movies too.
I like movies, yeah.
Gordon Gekko
I like
said
movies
greed
with
is
John.
good. Greed is good. I'm going to be greedy. I want more than 2 because the Texans have not done that this season. Not had more than 2 takeaways in a game. So give me 3. I don't know that's going to happen, but that's what I want. I think we all want a lot. So what can this defense do better? I'll start with you.
I think they need to get some they did a great job last week getting pressure on Bryce Young, but Baker Mayfield's not a rookie. I think they need to continue to do what they did last week against a veteran like Baker Mayfield. He has been playing well. He has protected the ball well, 10 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. I think continue to get pressure on him. And they've got some weapons in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think they need to take away those big explosive passes and big plays.
What do they need to do, John?
My column on sportsradio610.com is about the amazing transformation of the run defense. It's gone down in each of the last 5 games. I think they'll shut it down again. Bucs have trouble running the ball. They'll get after Mayfield. They'll force turnovers, which they didn't do, and it'll help them win the game.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. We were talking off camera about this run defense. Since 2019, even that was not a great run defense. The year before, really, really good, but it's gone down and been in a bad spot. What do you think has changed things the most overall? Is it simply a scheme thing and getting better players, or what?
It's attitude. D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke just installing the kind of attitude they want. D'Amico said it starts with setting the edges, trying to keep everything inside. He said Greenard and Will Anderson Jr. have done a tremendous job of setting the edges. They're physical. They hit people, and after a while, people want to just throw the ball. Then you get after the quarterback.
All right, you've brought up Greenard, you've brought up Greenard, I've brought up Greenard. So let's get him in here and let's talk with Jonathan Greenard, defensive end. He's having a whale of a season, and he gives us a nice preview of this matchup with the Buccaneers. Defensive end Jonathan Greenard joins us now. Jonathan, taking on the Buccaneers this weekend. We're going to get into the matchup in just a moment, but the Houston Texans as a defense have the 4th best pressure rate in the NFL, but you're in the bottom third blitzing-wise. So basically, you guys don't need to blitz to get pressure on the quarterback. What's going on?
I think we just kind of clicked, hitting on a little bit last week and even the Saints game prior going to our bye week. I think it just started to click. I mean, the things that we've been taught to do from camp, and OTAs all the way down to camp, and just trusting that process and understanding like how the system has to work, how each person, their role and their rush, and just understanding how we have to get to the quarterback collectively. Obviously, we all want to get the sack individually, obviously for stats, and obviously just to help to change the game, the momentum of the game, should I say. But just seeing all of us rush together and things just click, whether it's and then obviously the coverage is doing their thing in the back end. So we can do some really good damage in this league if we pretty much just buy into that aspect of doing our jobs and making sure that nobody's kind of freelancing in a sense to where it makes it difficult for the other person to have to overcompensate. So that's
pretty interesting to hear because you talk about the Saints game, you talk about last week. Last week, 6 sacks. You hit the quarterback 4 other times, 10 quarterback hits on the whole. I was going to ask, was that more of a matchup thing, or is it like you're saying here, this is kind of to be expected? This is where the Texans defense as a whole looks to be going.
Yeah, and that's like hearing that the stat of, because I think at one point we were like one of the top pressured teams, but we also were the lowest in sacks because of production. And that thing can go either way. I mean, it's not like we're not getting to the quarterback. It's just a matter of who knows whether the quarterback gets it out or, we missed a sack or, the back end maybe have a breakdown or we maybe mess up somewhere. He splits through of us not taking care of certain things. So I think in that aspect, that's what I'm speaking off of because we also have seen it in camp, just understanding the players that we have. Like, we don't have just any slouches around here. We have some pretty good quarterback, I'll say, in my opinion, pretty good offensive line, I would say. Just as a whole, from top to bottom, I think that everybody is very capable of being a top group in the league at each position if we just continue to try to just hone in on the little small things so that way we can try to just be the best version of ourselves. So there's always meat on the bone, as I always just like to say. Like even last game, we had 6 sacks, but if you go back through the film, we've missed about 4 of them, so it could have been even more in those senses. And obviously I had a penalty on my face mask with the quarterback, but just little small things. So seeing stuff like that is definitely encouraging when we watch the film because we understand that there's still more room for improvement. Even a game that close, you would think that one side did their job completely right, maybe on the defensive side, but even then we still had lapses to where we shouldn't even have to put the offense in those situations. So we kind of evaluate things from that perspective of what could we have done more to where we don't leave it into, the offense hands and I know they're saying the same thing. What could we have done more to not leave it in the defensive hands? So I think just all of that and that mentality, even on down to special teams, it helps out just because you're not out there by yourself.
6 sacks so far. I mean, that's a 14.5 sack season pace for you. So if you say you're not the best version of yourself yet, what more does that entail? I mean, what more do you have to do to be the best version? Because you're playing pretty darn well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But I think also, too, just in this league, how it's already shaped, no one cares about last week, I could have done that last week, but if I go out and do this, it's who you are that next week. Who are you consistently put on tape? And obviously, when you're in this league, it's such an innovative and progressive league to where it's a production-based business. So you got to show these things. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to just hang my hat on what I did here or did that there. We got to continue to just keep striving and keep climbing that ladder of success. I tell my teammates all the time, just because of what teams are going to look at us and how they're going to view us now. When we put that on tape, now they got to prepare as if this is the best version that they've seen. And meanwhile, on our side, we're like, well, that may look great to you all, but we also know on our end we could have done way much more than that.
Good stuff. Well, the job against the Buccaneers coming up. Good luck in that one. We appreciate the time. It's always a pleasure talking with you, John.
Always, Drew. Appreciate y'all for having me.
First down at the 20. Mallett hands off to Blue. Running left, has a hole. 15, 10, 5. Blue to the end zone. Touchdown. Houston, rock and roll. 20-yard run by Blue. And he has over 100 yards on the day.
We don't get to say Alfred Blue's name too much, but in 2015 in this stadium, last time the Texans played the Bucs here, he had a 20-yard touchdown run. So it's always nice to hear. They weren't booing, they were bluing. Blues. If you heard those boos there. Drew, Deepi, John. Let's talk about this matchup with the Buccaneers. In a lot of ways, it's two teams kind of looking into the mirror. You got a quarterback playing pretty well. You've got a good team as far as turnover differential. The defense is playing well. Are we looking at not mirror images, but very similar teams so far, so to speak, as far as that goes?
One team on the way up, the other one on the way down, 3 losses in a row. Texans could be 5-2. They're the only team in the league's lost 2 games with no time left. They're so close to being better. But if you told me before the season you could take 4-4, I'd say in a heartbeat. I think they're going to win the game. I like it. How about you? Do you see this matchup as two pretty similar teams in a lot of ways?
Yeah, they are really similar. And I think when you look at the stat sheet, they're both I expect another low-scoring matchup because the defenses aren't allowing a lot of points. Both teams have struggled with the run, but they've done a good job of protecting the ball through the air. Only difference is Baker Mayfield's got a lot more experience on C.J. Stroud. So it's really going to come down to what C.J. Stroud's able to do against their defense. And can your defense get some takeaways? But on paper, they look similar. I'm with John, though. They've lost 3 in a row, whereas the Texans have been winning consistently, so hopefully those trends continue after Sunday.
What's gotten into Baker Mayfield? What do you see?
Better opponents, been very inconsistent. They have no running game whatsoever. That's the worst thing that can happen to a quarterback is you don't run. Texans are finding that out.
How about you, Deepi? What do you see?
He is throwing the ball a ton. And that loss against the Bills, he put the ball up in the air about 40 times. I think he's done a good job of protecting the ball. I think that was something that he had issues with in the past. So I think overall, he's doing what he can to help his team win. They've had other issues, but I don't think that Baker Mayfield's been one of them.
John, you are the perfect guy to ask this because you vote for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he's still a long way off from being eligible for it. But Mike Evans, out of Galveston Ball, since he came into the league in 2014, has cranked out 1,000-yard seasons. He's had a few different seasons with 12 touchdowns or more. I'm not saying Hall of Fame yet, but is he the greatest receiver to ever come out of the state of Texas not named Raymond Berry? I'm saying grew up here. Didn't necessarily play his pro ball here, but grew up here.
Gosh, Drew, I'd have to think about that, but certainly the greatest to come out of A&M. They used to have some great receivers, but it was after they used to run the ball all the time.
Yeah.
So I'll say why not? Him and Raymond Berry from SMU, Berry's in the Hall of Fame. Evans got to have a really good chance.
Yep.
I do think that Mike Evans at Johnny Manziel's pro day, Johnny Manziel looked really good, and maybe it was Mike Evans. Maybe it was Mike Evans that was making Johnny Manziel look good all those years because he was a beast, and I don't think we talked about him enough.
I know. And you notice I put Ray Berry in. I'm a proud
Because
SMU
he's
Mustang.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
way before my time. But we got to get into Texans to watch. Who's your guy to keep their eyes on?
I'm going to say Devin Singletary because Damian Pierce, he could be nicked up. Singletary's done pretty well. I think he's going to get more carries. They got to be able to run the ball consistently.
All right, Motor is who he's going with. Who do you have?
I'm going to go Dalton Schultz.
Okay.
I think that the tight end has done a really great job. He just had one off game. All the tight ends are banged up, and Dalton Schultz seems to be a nice little security blanket for C.J. Stroud. So I'm looking for a big game from him.
Because I talked about my greed earlier, I'm going to stick with that idea. And Jalen Petrie is my Texan to watch. I want him getting a takeaway or two. He almost had a pick last week. Yeah, since I brought up SMU, I'll give him the proud Baylor Bear, an alum shout out. So there's our 3. When we come back, we've got to get into keys to a victory. What must the Texans do to come out with that 4th dub of 2023? Stick with us.
Extra Points has been sponsored by Community Coffee, Strong as Our Roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
One final segment of Texans Extra Points. Drew Dougherty, Deepi Sidhu, and John McClain. It's a lot of fun, and it's always cool to get keys to a victory. What are two things the Texans got to do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, they're pretty obvious. Run the ball better. Try to have some long runs. They haven't broken a long run yet. Give that average per carry up. I don't care who's carrying the ball. I liked it when Stroud had the boot and he ran for 12 yards. Let him run a little bit more. He's smart about going down. They have to run the ball and control the clock.
Okay, run the ball, control the clock. What about you?
I want to see more passing plays, especially on first down. I want to see CJ Stroud getting a rhythm, doing some of the things that he was doing in those wins. So I want to see some big, explosive, deep bombs down the field. I want him to be accurate. And then for the defense, win the turnover battle. You got to get some more takeaways. 0 is just not acceptable, especially when you're playing a low-scoring team like the Bucs.
All right, those are good keys. For me, I want a very quick start. Score in that first or second drive. Don't allow a score in one of those first or second drives. You can dictate the tempo, the pace of the game if you do that. And you know what else? I want long drives because last weekend the Texans had 2 scoring drives, and on each of them they had double-digit plays. 7 other drives, one ended in a fumble, the other 6 ended in a punt, and none of them were longer than 5 plays, and they averaged about 3.9, 4 plays per drive. That's not enough. You got to burn things up and keep things going. John, always great to have you here. We appreciate it. Deepi, going to miss you a lot.
Gonna miss you.
I'm going to stop talking because I might start crying. But this has been great having you here, the both of you. And we will see you again very, very soon. This is Texans Extra Points. Thanks so much for watching.